Welcome back to our beginner guitar series teaching thing. So the first episode was about should you go for a acoustic or electric, and I probably talked a bit of shit there, so at the end of the day it's your decision. But from now on in, this is going to run the course of electric guitar, okay? And this episode is about choosing an amp. Unfortunately, when I started playing guitars, you bought an amp or you didn't, and then you play acoustic. Now the choices are insane, and everybody will tell you that that is the thing to have, you know. So as a new consumer coming into the market now, you are faced with all these digital things, digital amps, big amp, small amp, different cabs, axe effects, campers, you know, playing through your fucking iPhone, shit like that. Is to me, it doesn't make sense. As a beginner guitar, you should have, you should start at the beginning to get a base knowledge of what it is you're trying to do, which is play guitar through an amp. And the reason you have to do that is because no matter what fancy technology sits at the end of this, all the amp sims and cab sims and torpedo lives and axe effects, at the end of the day, all of them are mimicking amps. All of them. That's what they do. They are not some new fancy thing that does something new. What they all try to do is mimic the amp that you would have otherwise been hooked up to. So when it comes to amps, however, there are some fantastic choices for the beginner. Cheap, cheerful, and great sounding. So one of my favorite amps at the moment is actually the Joyo range, the Bantam range. I'll have some pictures. They are fairly cheap. They do a lot of things really well. They're not a combo, so they're basically just the amplification head. They have a tube in it, which gives you a really nice overdrive and preamp feel to the amp. They sound fantastic, all of them. They can go pretty damn loud, so you could use them in a practice space. But what you need to remember is that you need to add them. Need to add a cab to them, and you can buy the cabs as well, which I'll put into the video. Just a good kind of 12-inch speaker cab by there's so many companies now. You can find them on eBay, on Amazon, etc. So that would be my absolute first suggestion. Get a Joyo Bantam range amp. They are, so if you imagine yourself, you buy a guitar, electric guitar for £200 to £300, you buy the amp for about 100 to 120, and then a good cab for about 100 as well. For like £500, you actually have a really good setup and a really good sounding setup. And why a good sounding setup matters is because you don't want to be in a situation where you just feel like the sound is shit compared to what you hear on the radio and your favorite band. Obviously, it's not going to be the same. These things have been produced, you know, by absolute masters. So you're not going to get there, but you want to be in that ballpark. You don't want to have that fizzy, harsh, crappy distortion sound or that kind of really tinny rubbish sound. So don't buy Line 6 Spiders just because they have 50,000 options and effects. They are absolutely terrible. Some of the cheap, small practice amps that you get with tons of multi-effects and different sounding amps. So if you click it on this position, it sounds like a Mesa Boogie, and this is metal, and this is rock, and this is... They are, in my opinion, not good for a beginner. Because again, what they're actually trying to do is mimic something that has come before. You want to learn how to play through an amp that responds like an amp, and learn and understand what an amp really does, what the preamp does, what the power section does, how loud it goes, when feedback happens, what distortion really sounds like, And I don't think these amps really do it. Now, when you get to the higher ranges, some of the Black Stars, the ID, VP things like that, fine, okay. But you don't need that in the beginning. You're going to be practicing in the house, so you're most likely going to have to keep things quiet anyway. So the Bantam range, I think, is ideal. They're reliable. Then there is the Orange Micros and the Tiny Terrors. They are also in that price bracket and sound amazing. I personally don't like the wee 10-inch speaker things, cabs that come with them. I prefer, I think every time you should buy, or you should try and get at least a 12-inch cab. The small speakers just don't cut it, in my opinion. To my ear, they always sound rubbish. And then the other really good thing about these amps, these small amps, is that they're perfect pedal platforms. So when you start delving into starting to buy pedals, you can kind of buy whatever you like. You're not going to have a problem with the amp not responding well to pedals. You can buy metal pedals and heavy distortion pedals, drive pedals, boost pedals. They all work really well with especially the Meteor range and the Bantam range. So if you're going to go out and buy an amp, don't buy multi-effects amps. Don't buy like these Fender Mustangs with 50 presets and digital stuff. Buy a good tube staged preamp. You don't need a valve stage in your power amp. You just don't. You never really do. Argument later, no worries, but that's my opinion. So a good Joyo, a good small head Black Star, some of the Black Star combos, some of the small orange stuff, the Pedal Baby, or things like that. These are all good priced and actually are very good sounding. So when you are in a situation where you might actually play live later, you could theoretically use them without any bother if you learn how to use them well. So in my opinion, when it comes to buying an amp, don't buy these packs like these, you know, Argos or whatever, with these starter packs with a cheap guitar and a cheap amp. These things suck so bad, and I think they prevent somebody from being inspired to play the guitar. I will go into the guitar as well in the next video, what kind of guitar you should be buying as a beginner. For exactly the same reason. You want something that works really well, sounds like it should, and is reliable. So no digital effects, leave that shit out. Don't get into the digital domain in the beginning. Buy a nice, standard, good amp. It doesn't really matter if it's has a valve tube either, not necessarily. As long as it's a good solid state, it doesn't really matter. But the good solid states, in my opinion now, are actually more expensive than, for example, these Joyo Bantam ranges. The other one that you can go for, second-hand Marshall valve state amps, PV Bandits combos, not the digital one, you get the trans-tube one. So they're called, what's the red stripe and the silver stripe. They are insanely good for what you can pick them up for, and when you ever need to go gigging, these things will perform day in, day out. So don't go down the digital domain, not because I have a problem with digital domains. I use amp sims all the time. It's about, you first need to understand what amps do, then you can start using digital stuff because you understand what they're actually trying to achieve. I hope that helps. Thank you very much. See us for the next one.